Hey, everybody, and welcome to A Smarter Tomorrow, a podcast by Eco Smart Home Pros. My name is William. I'll be the host today. I am a project manager within Eco Smart Home Pros. I've been here for just about 2 years. I've been interested in technology since I was, 7, 8 years old, taking things apart, putting it all back together. As most millennials have become the family IT department, that is also me in a professional tone. And my one of the biggest things that I have enjoyed with Smart Home is the automation. We work with a special brand of digital assistant called Josh. It's super cool and does a lot more than what the normal stuff does, and I've really enjoyed working with that. I'm joined here today with another member of the company, Stephen Donnelly. He is our COO, and he'll be giving you a brief introduction on his favorite technology stuff. Stephen?
Thanks, William. I started with the company in late 2020, but this is my father's company. He started doing smart home technology around 2015, 2016 full-time, but it's been something that he's interested in for quite some time. But William and I actually met at Best Buy in Marquette, Michigan, where we worked together in the computing department, but we were both very avid tech fans. So we learned home theater, smart home, networking. We worked every department just because we love technology, and don't mean to speak on your behalf, but I'm speaking on your behalf. Sorry, man.
Not at all. It's all true. So,
but what got me into technology? It was my father. He's been working with computers and networking almost his entire life. He was around for the growth of computing. So he learned programming, all of that. Honestly, one of my favorite memories as a child was building new computers. There's actually one I worked on at one point. We had this cardboard kids briefcase, and
okay.
I think it was for storing Lego bricks or something. Honestly, it was some random thing. But one day I decided I wanted to build a custom computer. And so with my dad's help, we actually took apart an old laptop, put the screen in the top of this cardboard briefcase, and then we put the motherboard, and we cut out all of the IO ports on the back, and I made a fully functional computer out of this cardboard kids storage box.
That's actually awesome.
That was super fun. Another project that we did a couple of times actually was we would take the old CRT monitors and we would hollow out everything until it was just the plastic casing. We'd fill all the holes, and then we would turn them into water fountains. So we hung CD discs or something, and we put a water pump in, so the bottom would get filled with water. You pump it up to the top, and the water would fall down like CDs or floppy disks, and you had these cute little water features. I don't think we have any anymore. I think we threw them all away. But again, just another random thing that just got me into technology. It was so much fun to learn how that stuff worked, how to build it, and then building random little things with it.
I actually didn't know that. That's really cool that you did that.
That's not exactly a story that comes up naturally anywhere. So it's not something that we talk about very often. If I went over to the old office, I'm sure I could find the old laptop from the 90s from when they were 3 inches thick.
Yeah, the real thick ones.
They had a roller ball instead of a trackpad. I'm pretty sure we still have that laptop. I want to say it's a Gateway. It's old. But yeah, we've still got some of that stuff. What interests me about smart home technology, it's about making life more convenient, honestly. It's really weird. I've gotten so used to walking into my bedroom and my office and the lights just turn on that it's funny, when I walk into someone else's home and I go to the bathroom and the light doesn't turn on, I just don't know what to do sometimes. I've gotten so used to that convenience that I've forgotten what light switches are for at this point.
I have that with some of my friends. They'll ask where the bathroom is at my house. I'm upstairs to the right. And then as they're walking up, I'll tell my Alexa to turn the bathroom light on so that they don't have to fumble around with the 4 switches that are for some reason wired in my bathroom.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely created some bad habits for me too, because I'm also used to being at home where my lights just turn off automatically after a certain period of time. So I also just
Yeah.
forget to turn lights off sometimes. Um, but I mean, as this technology is becoming more affordable, it's becoming easier to access. We're going to see more and more places do that. And I mean, like that's one of our goals. We do understand that like there's certain technologies that are pricey. They are not for the average consumer. So there's things like the Black Nova light switches that are high luxury. Like this is for the wealthiest people in America. Then you've got things like Lutron, which are absolutely have a cost to them, and then you have like the Lutron Caseta, which is definitely much more budget friendly, where you can get the starter kit. I think they're like $120 or so. You can get, I think it's like 2 switches, the hub, etc., and you can slowly start to build that out. And like that's a system that's pretty easy to even DIY. So if you wanted to pick that up, it's easy to get that going as long as you know how to wire a basic switch. You can start to build out a smart home light switch situation, and putting in those motion sensors, etc., to get that extra convenience as well as that energy savings by making sure your lights do turn off when someone like me comes along and forgets to shut things when I leave, because I'm just so used to it.
Or for
Um,
anybody that has kids like myself, they never shut their lights off.
yeah,
I go upstairs 2-3 hours after they've come downstairs for the day, and their lights are still on.
right,
But
exactly.
that's where you can like build out some of that automation. Like Alexa has a feature where you can turn off the lights after a certain amount of time, or you can have them turn on at a certain time of day, turn off at a certain time of day. I haven't gotten that far, but like that's something that we could do, which is actually a really great time to segue into the whole point of our episode today is doing those DIY installs, kind of the pros and cons of like what that would entail, and when it would be best to realize that you're out of your depth as a DIY installer to bring in an expert, somebody like us, to kind of take care of that stuff. So in your experience, Stephen, what have you seen for like the pros and cons of doing that DIY kind of install?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's certainly plenty of things that are easy to do it yourself. And we work with our clients depending on those needs, like mounting a TV. If you are confident in using a drill, finding studs, doing all that, like it's not that hard to mount a TV. It's just time consuming, and it's about the liability. That's the reason why people like us charge a little bit more for it. People like Geek Squad or the guy down the road, Meyer, Target, all of them have installation and mounting services. But like when we do it, we are taking on that liability of if it falls or something falls apart or it's not done correctly and your TV breaks or it falls on a kid or a pet. Like there's stuff regarding all of that. But like it's not a hard process to do, and it's not super time consuming. Um, Mounting speakers, similar situation. Like it's screws mounting into a solid base. Preferably you're doing it into wood. But if you start to get into situations with like lath and plaster or brick, like that requires a bit more skill. You typically want someone that knows what they're doing, because the damage that can cause from a bad installation there can mean possibly replacing entire sections or destroying entire parts of a wall or a fireplace, etc. So making
Right.
sure that that's done correctly, you definitely want to have people that know what they're doing.
Yeah,
Um,
and some of those installs require more like specialty tools as well. Like for me personally, like I own a handful of tools that a normal person would have, but I don't have masonry bits at home. I don't have like the click in toggles that we use on our own installs. I don't have those at home as a regular person. So that's another good thing to point out for people that try to do it themselves and just use like the anchors that come with those speaker mounts or the
mhm.
anchors that come with the TV mounts. Like they're not they're not the highest quality ones that you can use, and you have a higher chance of it falling out of the wall or wrecking anything if you don't have those special tools.
Absolutely. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of that tale of the contractor that goes to someone for a job, and they're like, "Oh, it's going to be $500 for me to do this," and the client goes, "Well, that seems like a lot of money. Like, I think I can do it for less. Like, why don't you just sell me the materials and I'll take care of the rest?" And then the guy explains, like, "Okay, here's the materials. It's $250. Do you have this type of drill?" "No, I don't. I guess I'm gonna have to go get one." Like, "Okay, I'll rent it to you for $80." And like, "Okay, do you know how to drill into brick?" Like, "Well, no, I've never done that." "Okay, well, I'll train you how to do it for $100." And you just keep adding it up, and before you know it, it's more than by just letting the professional do the installation.
Yeah,
And that story kind of sums that up really well. Like, it is about the training, all of that we do. So like we, as a professional integration company, like we invest quite a bit of money into training, working with our vendors, working with designs, spending all of that additional time making sure that we are doing it as intended by the manufacturer. All of that definitely has a value versus just kind of winging it day of and doing something.
right. Just taking a quick trip to Walmart or Meijer or anything, picking up a TV mount and throwing some holes in the wall.
Right. Yep. And yeah, again, like if you're just doing it into drywall, a lot of people own a drill. You don't need anything fancy. You need a drill, you need bolts, a stud finder, and preferably two people to help lift the TV out of the wall.
Yeah, depending on the
don't,
size.
don't try and do it yourself if it's like a 55, 60 inch plus. Um, yeah, it's just, again, it's a wide thing to be holding by yourself, and you're trying to line it up on something that you can't typically see.
Yeah, you're
it's
trying
just
to.
much easier when you have two people.
Yeah, doing it all by
larger
field
like that.
does not work out well.
Yes.
I definitely don't speak from experience on that.
Absolutely. But yeah, and I mean, of course, there's other things. So like when it comes to home theater design, making sure that the audio is tuned just precisely based on your specifications. Like usually there's a seat or two that you care most about, because it's usually you and your spouse, or you and a kid, sitting in two of the 6 seats. Like, everyone else shows up every once in a while. You want those 2 seats to have a prime experience every time. Everything else can be good. So tuning speakers to that specification, again, requires a skill set that's not just something you can quickly pick up and do on your own. It's just not worth doing on your own if you're only doing it once. Because again, you're paying someone to teach you how to do something, and that's time, that's money. Networking, it's the same situation. Knowing how to set up the access points around your house in an efficient manner that you get Wi-Fi connections where you need, and then having someone say, like, yes, the future, a lot of things are going wireless, but we're also starting to see more things requiring more bandwidth, more connection. So hardwiring things is also becoming very important still. So people like us coming in and recommending and being like, hey, future proofing your home or your business, why don't we do some of these things up front, plan this out? You don't necessarily have to finish everything up front, but let's have the wires in the wall so that in 5 years, when you do decide, oh, we're doing this project, there's wires run to that space and everything has that hardwired, extremely reliable connection. And if we need to add another wireless access point at that time, there's a wire there. We know where it is. We can easily find it, finish it up, and go from there. Because if you have someone and you're just kind of getting things done, you don't have an integrator come along and kind of talk about some of these things, it gets very expensive to do that as a renovation. Running wires from a closet through a drywall building, a finished space, is very difficult. You're almost certainly going to be calling back drywallers. You're going to be calling back the painters, finishers, etc. So it's not just we just have to run a wire. That's almost never the case.
That's the super oversimplified version. Like, yeah, we're gonna run wire from A to B, but there's 3 rooms, 6 walls, insulation, all kinds of stuff in the way.
Yep. Yeah, duct
And
work, electric work, all that. Um, and then going off that as well, like your electricians, they are fantastic at running your electrical, but low voltage stuff, which is more what smart home integration, smart building technology runs off of, they're not as um, they're not trained as much in that. Like they're typically given, here's code, don't let it be more than 6 inches near something. But that 6 inches is not far enough if we're dealing with high fidelity audio. That
right,
electric
yeah,
line can have a big impact on your speaker wire if it's not run far enough away, or if it's crossing too many times. That's where you start to get that buzzing noise, that hissing, that those weird things that just happen sometimes. Same with your security system. Like if you have a window that the sensor goes off sometimes, quite often you can trace that back to it's right next to some sort of high voltage outlet, and when there's a big draw or you turn the lights on, it's sending just enough power that that low voltage wire is picking that up and sending that signal back to your security system, which it reads as this door was left open or this sensor was triggered, etc.
it
So
reminds
again,
me of when I was in middle school and people were just starting to get cell phones, and you'd get that little like beep deet 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 kind of thing on the speaker right before somebody got a text message.
yep,
It all
absolutely.
plays along in the same thing, and I think that's something that's important for people to realize and understand, even especially if they don't know beforehand, that like that could be a problem of doing it themselves and not knowing, or doing it themselves knowing and not like necessarily believing that it could be a problem, or that it everybody that thinks that problem won't happen to me kind of thing, and then when it does they have to bring in somebody that can fix that.
Sure. Yeah. And like we're not full electricians. So like when we do have to work with something near high voltage or something is doing that, we bring in an outside electrician for those jobs because we know what we know, but we know that we don't know everything.
Right. And there
Again,
are
we
certain like licenses and certifications that we need in order to even to do the things that an electrician does. We can only do the small stuff.
right. So yeah, so we fully understand like while we know smart home, smart building, technology, computers, stuff like that, we also do understand like we don't know everything. So we bring in experts to help us with that. Um, and through this podcast series, we're hoping to help everyone else kind of understand and think through some of that. So like when you are thinking of building your next house or you're building your next business, whether it's small, medium, large, commercial, industrial, etc., that you do think like, hey, let's bring in someone that knows smart home technology as part of our subcontractors and make sure that all of that is planned ahead of time. Because just like your electricians, like you may not be building your big manufacturing facility out in the warehouse this year. It's a 5-year plan. Your low voltage falls under that same plan, though. Have all of that stuff planned so that you have the wires, you have the infrastructure ready, so that when you are going to that next phase, it's connect, terminate, and you're up and running.
Right. Yeah, that's something that we try to talk with our clients about for when they do that kind of stuff. You might decide you want to put a TV on this wall. We should just run a cable to it anyway. We have a thing where we can find that cable later if you decide that you want to actually move that TV over there. You add another one, anything like that. And especially with how things are changing with different internet devices, like there could be a spot on that wall that isn't for a TV. It could be for, really big digital picture frame that needs internet. Like the little ones that you can get for Christmas the last couple of years. But get like a 60-inch one, and it needs internet. And then you're putting up these really cool paintings or family photos. Like there's all kinds of different stuff that it could be. All right, so Stephen, we've talked a lot about like the different pros and cons of doing those DIY installs. The best time to bring in, professional like us, or if you're, in an area that we don't service, finding a different kind of integrator. What sets us apart from different people that do tech integration stuff? at least in your mind?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of our bigger differentiators is how we really get to know our clients. Um, so like there's a whole interview phase. We really get to know what it is you're looking for, why you're looking for that solution. Because we've certainly had plenty of people come to us and say, I have problem A, it's fixed by doing this. And we go, yeah, that definitely probably will work for what you're doing. But there is also this solution that we could implement that does X, Y, and Z, and it hits all these different markers, does these different things. For example, like let's take a retail store. Obviously, security is a huge thing. So your retail stores, you're starting to invest quite heavily into asset protection because theft is on the rise. Product destruction is on the rise. So trying to find different solutions for that, and a lot of people just think, oh, we need cameras. We just need more cameras everywhere. I want to see every square inch. And it's great. Yeah, we can absolutely offer a solution for that. We can put individual cameras, we can do fisheyes or full 360 cameras. And yeah, we can absolutely get that. But we can take that a step further with solutions that also monitor, like, what are high traffic areas? Like, where are people spending more time? Where are you seeing that high traffic? Are you seeing the higher theft in that area? So, for example, like the Ubiquiti cameras actually have a heat map that is part of their system, and we can see where people spend more time standing. And you can start to use that and be like, oh, like people are standing in this area, and you can go back to that video and see, is it your employees that are standing more there? Maybe they're missing certain areas, they're not patrolling the floor as often as they could, they're not walking around, or are clients staring at certain products? Are those high theft products, or is that just an area that you could also be pushing more product? We could put some lighting in that area to really accent that. Is it a high profit product that could be used for that? So not only taking, yeah, let's just add in security, it's let's take this a step further. What's going to get you the most value here, and what's going to offer the best for you, your clients, your employees?
Sure. Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off that, the other big thing is that it's not just one solid solution. It's, we offer anything that can help with, or at least anything we can source, we can offer to that customer to help with whatever they're looking for. Like one of the big projects that we have going on right now is a guy that's doing like this huge home theater setup, and he wants automated shades and these cool down lights, and he wanted to hide the network closet behind a false wall so that we could have everything set right in the room but still out of the way, instead of having to have it run all the way through the house to a basement or anything like that. He's got a projector that he wants to have drop down from the ceiling, Spy Man style, and the the projector screen is hidden behind a section of wall as well. And there isn't one kind of package that a company would offer to do that for that particular client. So like the biggest thing that we do is we see what they want, we find the best way to do it, or to, like you said, take it that step further and give them more than they're looking for, but for a good value.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, aesthetics, it's a popular choice, especially with certain clientele that are really looking for, I don't want to see my technology, I want it there, I want the conveniences. But I won't lie, like there's a lot of tech that just is not aesthetically pleasing. You've got a lot of just squares with sharp edges or weird circles and like just odd shapes, odd colors that don't blend in. So yeah, absolutely, that's always another option, another reason. I mean, that ties back to our previous conversation about the pros and cons of DIY versus a pro. There are certain things like that projector mount that like you don't walk into a big box store and find that as a solution.
Oh, absolutely not. No,
you don't know that exists. Like you're not thinking about that. Whereas again, like, yeah, we got to know the client, we found out what's most important to them. And I mean, they were putting some money into that room. There was an interior designer, so working with them as well to make sure that everything just comes together Technology meets aesthetics meets function. Um, yeah, that's a super cool project that we're working on. That, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do with all of our clients, at least for speaking from my experience up in the Marquette location. Like anybody that comes to me that's looking to get a project done, like I'm going through all those questions. I feel like I'm almost friends with them by the end of it because we exchange direct contact information. I tell them they can call, text, email whenever they need to about any kind of questions they have or things that they come up with that are like, hey, I saw this thing, can we do it in our project? And it really helps build that like client integrator relationship. Similar to how realtors become pretty close with their clients because it's such a long process. um, just being able to have that with those customers and then create that lasting relationship afterward for when they consider us for doing anything else. I know that there's a client that we had before I started here that had a bunch of stuff done in their house. You guys had built a relationship with them that has extended even 2 years after I've started at the company, to where we've gone back and done a couple different things for them. They've kept us in mind for anything else they've wanted to do, and they're really cool people from what I've from meeting them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we have tons of fantastic clients. They are an extended family, and we hope that they always see us that way as well. Because yeah, I mean, staying connected is incredibly important. We understand how important that is. That's why we choose the products we do when it comes to networking. Like we want to make sure that you're online as much as possible. Because like in your location, the Upper Peninsula, like you are far away. If there's an emergency, like you want to get connected as soon as possible and get the help you need, whether it's like your smoke detector going off, whether it's a big problem, or yeah, maybe you just burned chicken dinner. But like you want a solution immediately if the problem is big. Whereas down here in Muskegon, like yeah, it's much easier to get a hold of those types of services. But again, on Thanksgiving, you've got your whole family over, you've got 14 kids running around with their iPads. You definitely want them connected to the internet because you're also trying to talk to your cousin you haven't seen in 2 years. You're trying to bake a turkey. You're trying to make the cranberry sauce. Like there's a lot going on, and you just want the distractions. You want that connection. Or again, maybe you're just an older adult living alone. You want to be able to FaceTime or Zoom with your kids or your grandkids. And when you're trying to do that and your internet's just not working or it's not reliable, like that generation isn't really able to fix a lot of those issues. So they want someone that they can call, that they can trust, to make sure that they have a reliable service. And that's exactly what we want to be.
Yeah, and that's what I'm aiming to do up here as well. I know that you guys have been doing that down there for quite some time. But with your talk about the holidays, I think that's a really good place to like roll into the end of the show. So we're like, do we have anything that's going on in the next couple of weeks or up through Christmas with the holidays coming up? I know that there are some local events that you're going to be here for. If that's right.
And then we are also going to be doing our 12 days of Techmas again this year. I believe we are wanting to start that early December, where for 12 days, we are actually going to highlight a popular product that we offer. We're going to have special pricing for those products on those days, just to kind of help people see different solutions, different things that exist, and showcase things that we really are passionate about. So you're going to see a lot of products that people like me, my boss, William, products that we use, that we love, that we want to make sure that exist, and can get those into your homes or your businesses. So I'm really excited for that because we did it last year for the first time and we got quite a bit of awesome responses. So this year I think you're going to be really excited for what we have to offer.
With it being our second year doing it, we've figured out what works and doesn't work, and we're hoping to have a bigger impact on that social media aspect for the second year. But I think that's all we have for today. So I thank you for joining us, Stephen. And Mike should be back for our second episode, and we'll continue from there.
Perfect. Absolutely love it. Excited to see where this podcast goes. We're really hoping that we can help people understand more solutions that exist, talk about different reasons, again, why, showcasing why DIY versus hiring a pro installer, products we love, products we think you will love, talking about new things happening in the smart building world. As things are coming out, we're going to start to stay on top of that and make sure that we let you guys know as soon as possible so that you know it exists and you can start planning and implementing these things into your life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Stephen, and have a great night.